Okay, looks like we are live. Let me confirm that. Yep, certainly looks like we are live. That is fantastic. Awesome. We have 2 people watching now, probably all of us. So let's just take a little bit of a breather here and reshield the link. Is somebody still in the chat of the previous stream? Because I saw there was quite a bit of action there.
Oh wait, so there's a new link?
Yeah, there's a new link. We got 5 people now, so I think people are finding it. But let me just make a Telegram and Twitter round. I also send the link in the chat.
So, but until we finish the shilling, should we get into it already? Start the last show here of Monday Night Konsensus for this year, 2018. We're not going to stop, of course.
Yep. Yeah, of course we're not going to stop.
We're just starting. So, how was your year?
Yeah, if whoever is watching, you feel free to comment what was the most memorable thing of the crypto year 2018, and I'll just keep sharing the link. And once we hit, let's say, 10 people, we're gonna start the actual show.
I mean, 2018 was a crazy year for Bitcoin. Although the price was really went down quite a lot. I personally don't care too much about the price because there are 1,001 things happening that are so much more interesting and important than the price. And just on a technical side, the fundamental side, beautiful what was happening in Bitcoin. I mean, so much going on. So Piers in the chat, when you condense down, what was the most important things happening in 2018? Where do you think was the most advancements being made? Yeah, it's super interesting. So much to choose from.
Yeah, we have to agree with that. Like, it's crazy to think the level of, for example, my personal knowledge just a year ago, and now it just feel like I'm a totally different person. Like, not only that the Bitcoin and technology developed, but it has given me personally a whole new hopefulness for future. So that's pretty awesome, and I think that's going to be a pretty big driving force for many people, especially millennials who get this technology.
And they get to experience this, and the future generations will get to live in it. That's pretty cool. Just like we had the internet back in the day, but now we have people who are born into the internet age, so it's much more natural for them.
Oh yes, absolutely, and we, with every year, I mean, Bitcoin is now almost 10 years old, which is still very, very young, especially for an emerging money. But still, I mean, there are many individuals already born that only know a Bitcoin world, that have not lived before having a sound and censorship-resistant money. And I mean, the biggest effects of Bitcoin will be felt if not just now, but rather next generation or 7 generations to come. So the long-term effects of having a sound money is intense, especially after having a weak fiat currency for such a long time. And these long-term effects, that's really going to be interesting to watch. And hopefully we can see as much of that in our lifetime still.
And since you mentioned the the kids, yeah, that's one reason also why I'm hopeful. I have a son. He's turning 4. It's gonna be he's gonna be one of those kids who's never lived without Bitcoin. So that's gonna be interesting to see. And there's actually a YouTuber with 864 subscribers called CryptoCoin Kid, and I've been shilling him when he had like 5 subscribers, and now he has more than double our subscribers from Konsensus Network. So that's pretty awesome. And he's born in the year of Bitcoin, in fact, 2009. And he's making videos, and he's coding and doing stuff, and it's pretty awesome. I watch all his videos, so definitely check him out. I'm gonna drop the link at the in the chat.
That sounds great. It's like, I feel like this Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, this is a generational thing. It has been only 10 years. And if you look back, all the generations, they didn't even know that this was possible, and they're kind of scared because they don't really know. But it's like young kids, they know this, and technology is not a monster to them, so they have, well, if they have been living the crypto life for all of their life this far, it's quite normal that they will take this as a normal thing.
Yes, exactly. And then further, the realization that Bitcoin is truly for everyone, right? That's the entire point. Having censorship-resistant money, that means that everyone can use it. Of course, including, but absolutely not limited to, children, young adults who want to take care of their own and, claim their self-sovereignty. So Bitcoin is for everyone. And the Crypto Sasquatch says in the chat that kids trade digital values in their games, and absolutely. I mean, these interactive games and just having digital collectibles is always the first step of any money, and that is where Bitcoin already fits in. I mean, when you explain Bitcoin to children, they just intuitively get it. Growing up with the internet, and especially with in-game currencies and tokens and all that stuff, they get it. They might not get the cryptography behind it or the economics or the philosophy behind it in depth, of course, because nobody gets that. It's a very advanced subject. But nevertheless, it is absolutely a fascinating topic that is for everyone.
That's a really good point, and that's actually also what Aleksi Grimm said in the panel that we watched earlier. That it's in fact a collectible, and that's how all the money should start. A good money. People want it, so that's what gives it some kind of value. So you can turn it into a store of value, and that's precisely what happened with Bitcoin. First, it started as a curiosity, a collectible, or something nerdy to do. Like I was mining briefly because I just thought it was a cool thing to do. I wanted to try this kind of like magic internet money, and that was kind of it. And then people started wanting it more, and then suddenly somebody slapped a dollar price on it, and then thus it started the journey to become a medium of exchange. And I do believe that we are still on that that kind of a phase. And it's maybe not the best thing to buy your coffee, but that's not the point. The point is it's an emerging protocol that is constantly developing. So yeah, I think we have like we got 7 people here. I don't think we're gonna wait too much longer here. We're just going to go on with the program, and besides, we're already making a really nice points here. And I just wanted to go a little bit back about the collectible thing. Have you guys ever heard somebody like besides a so-called adult who was born probably before the 80s or 70s that, for example, buying skins for Fortnite or weapons for game is a waste of money? I don't think so. I think that's exclusively an elder thing to frown upon the ways of the youth, much like it used to be. Like I do think that even paper was frowned upon back in the day when you were still supposed to write on stone slabs. So I think that this is exactly what we're seeing here: a generation changing, and for the millennials, it's obvious that there's value there. Like you want to customize your character on the game, probably more than you want to customize yourself in the meat space. Like I would say, like I have a brother that he just turned 18, and he's very much into video games, like I used to be as a kid. And yeah, I think he would prefer to buy a lot of virtual goods instead of so-called real life goods. Like what does that even mean, real life? You know, I think it's a very subjective thing. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think if you explain to a younger kid about token, what is a token, you don't really need to do a lot of job, because they will usually understand what is a token. It's a kind of a collectible, and they'll understand, okay, I have lots of tokens, I have played many video games and table games and so on. So I think this language is quite suitable for the younger generation as well.
Yeah, and Nico, you mentioned the skins. I don't really see that much difference from buying clothes for yourself, because it's just that you buy it for a video game character. What difference does it make, even though you don't have to figure out the size or go to the actual store? So
right, I mean, you're expressing yourself with the clothing. That's just the same as you're expressing yourself in the virtual space. So how is that different?
Yes, absolutely. And you know, we have scarce goods that are unique, that only one individual can have the possession and control over. And of course, in the physical meat space, they're all over us, right? Any physical, tangible good is a scarce good that only one person can possess. However, in the digital realm, there is not that much scarcity. A PDF document can be shared with as many individuals as you want, because you can copy it easily. And this means so that there are no property rights for these infinite, fluid, non-scarce goods. And thus there is no price for them, because you cannot exchange them. You can just share them. Now, even before Bitcoin, we could generate scarce digital goods, like World of Warcraft money. That's a centralized database, though, but it is a scarce good, right? You can trade like 100 gold coins versus a sword, and no issues. However, and Bitcoin thus did not invent digital scarcity. But what Bitcoin did invent was protecting this digital scarcity, even under the most adversarial conditions, and making sure that even if you are surrounded by malicious actors, you can still retain ownership in this scarce but digital asset. And that is something that is unique. Having the ability, a tool for defending your property rights, which is Bitcoin and proof of work and digital signatures and the game theory behind it. That's the beautiful invention of Bitcoin.
Yes, I think it's the intellectual property rights have been there quite like decades, almost 100 years, but they haven't really been able to protect normal people. Normal people really didn't have that sort of protection mechanism, and I think Bitcoin has done that quite well this far.
Can you elaborate? How do you mean protect?
Right. It's especially the aspect of making sure that once Alice has granted Bob the access and control and ownership to the Bitcoin, that she can no longer take it back. Because if she could, then it would not be a truly good. So the aspect that it's just irreversible, that once a transaction is made, you can no longer unmake it. That is really important for any scarce good. I mean, it's logical in the tangible meat space. Right? If I give you a silver coin, I no longer have it, and I cannot snap my finger and take it back. What I can do, though, is try to hit you over the head and take the coin when you lie on the ground. So you have to defend against this, right? With physical defense, with having a strong and alert body, and tools for self-defense. And Bitcoin is similar in that aspect. You could you could run a deep reorganization attack on the chain and double spend a transaction, and thus take the Bitcoin back, although that you first promised it, and initially to Bob, but then take it back in the reorganized chain. That is possible, but it's just really, really expensive. And the tools that Bitcoin gives us for that is powerful. Absolutely.
Yeah, it was like artists decades ago and today, like normal artists, they really cannot protect their own material in any way. If they release some material, that should be protected. But when it comes to like bigger companies or bigger artists, they can always take it away. And if you sue them, well, that's gonna be quite expensive, and it's going to be a very long process. So there isn't really that kind of a protection mechanism for normal people, like Max said there. And Bitcoin may be the best option at the moment for the personal protection.
Yeah, I really like the term of, you know, tool of self-defense for your finance. This is the, as far as I know, this is the only way to protect ourselves from, you know, future financial calamities, if you will. And, you know, I think we can all agree that the current situation is far from stable. And if we learned anything from the likes of Lehman Brothers back in 2008, which was what put Bitcoin in motion, in a way, at least it was released around that time. Maybe Satoshi waited for that moment specifically to release it, to make a maximal impact and deliver the message. And I do think that this is a valuable tool that we can use. But as we discussed on the panel that was actually live last week, and it was just aired. And actually, if you're watching this now, you can find it with English subtitles on our Konsensus Network channel. One of our community members, one of our bloggers, Laura, did an outstanding job subbing it, translating the whole thing. It's in Finnish, of course, because he was in Bank of Finland. And there was Aleksi Grimm, who has been in the show a couple times before, talking about future of money. A really cool guy, really like his style. And we disagree on many things. We also agree on some things. Anyway, we had a really good conversation. And Teemu Jäntti was there also from Blockchain Forum. Highly recommend you check that out. It was a really, really cool conversation about where things are going. And it goes to show, if you watch that, it goes to show that the regulators really don't have much of a clue what's going on. You know, they don't take Bitcoin seriously. They talk about monopoly money. They talk about gaming money, and sure, it's a strategy as well to undermine it, to buy some time from the masses. I do believe that they are speaking from position. I don't think that they are so ignorant that they wouldn't know what is actually going to happen in the future. But I urge everybody to you know, take responsibility of your personal life, personal finances, and learn. And that will be the best investment. And I speak from my heart and my experience. That will be the best investment you will ever make, to take some time off. Like, you know, even if you have to work and your so-called, everybody has a busy life, everybody has this hectic life. You know, even if you can take a 1 hour every day, or even half an hour, and learn about this thing, and soon the rabbit hole starts to get bigger, and you start falling, and you start to understand these things. Because like Teemu said also in the panel, not only us Finns, but everybody in the world, like most people in the world, we are not taught how to invest. We are not taught how to manage our finances. We are not taught to, you know, take control, because we are being controlled. The very nature of the government is to govern us, right? I mean, that's how where the name comes from. But do we need that? Do we really need that? What has the government done for us? You know, I urge everybody to think, what has the government done to us that we couldn't do possibly better? And sure, there are cases, but I'm talking about in a broad spectrum. So definitely check that panel. It was really cool. I was watching it today while I was checking on the subtitles, and I really like everybody's input there. And I think it's a great opener, and I hope we can have another panel. What did you guys think about the panel? Did you watch it?
Yes, I watched it. It was a very good discussion. I encourage everyone to watch that. It was very important that it was like started there with the basics, like the words and what the words mean. That is like considering the regulation. It always starts with words, what we are talking about. It's like every intellectual discussion. We're talking about first the words and then the meaning of the words. And if you try to first put the regulation, it always changes. Like in Finland, we have tax officials put some regulation in the spring. The wording of their phrases change now when they are putting a new regulation. So it is kind of a early stages there in the regulation level as well. And we have to always teach them and be patient with them and give them time so that the good groundwork can be laid for the future.
Oh yes, absolutely. And you know, we have to be honest, if there were a way to give 30% of your assets to the needy instead of taxes, it would most likely do so. And I would agree. You know, if all of a sudden, you know, government coercive theft and taxation would stop, together with all, you know, the import taxes and other licensing fees, you would be 95% wealthier. And of course, you know, if you have that much more wealth at your disposal, this would of course mean that you would be more willing to donate and to support your local community of peers. So yeah, you know, voluntary interaction is powerful, and I don't believe that we need or should force individuals, even for quote unquote good causes, to give money away, because well, you know, theft is theft, and it's always wrong.
Yeah, there was one panel in which Niko and Rafael were talking about, and there was a point made about the taxation, that you can't trust on the goodwill of the people to give any money away for charity or any like non-reciprocal altruistic purposes. You can't trust people on that. But in the next sentence, the panelist said that we should ban weapons, like for self-defense, and that doesn't make any sense because we can't trust on the goodwill of the humans to actually not attack us. So it's an interesting dilemma in the current situations.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, and yeah, I would like to bring out also that, since you mentioned guns, like, isn't it curious that almost in every country the government tends to try to take away the people's weapons of self-defense on whatever is the flavor of the day, terrorism or school shootings or anything like that. And can these events be prevented? Can criminal action be prevented by banning these tools? No. Of course not. Like, if there's a will, there's a way. So there's always an alternative motive. And what would that motive be? Of course, well, I mean, people tend to take things more lightly when they don't possess the way to actually defend themselves actively. And this is why Bitcoin is so important, because it actually does disarm these armed extortion rackets that we call governments. And how does it do it? Well, I mean, think about inflation. Like, how are wars funded? How are weapons produced? Where does the money come from? Normally, the government or you know, the bankers who are bankrolling the governments are actually printing the money in their own pockets and their fellows and their friends' pockets, and that's the way to fund some wars. You know, you might be hard pressed to try to convince somebody to fund your war, for example, via Tallycoin. You know, put your Bitcoin here, and then we'll go and blow some rocks on the other side of the globe. And, you know, sounds fun, right? No, that's not going to happen. That's so not going to happen. So, you know, there will be still wars, but at least they will be fought on, you know, some grounds. Some maybe you know, there will be oppressors, and then there will be a defense war, that kind of thing, you know, like real stuff.
yeah, it's like every time you if you have read Sun Tzu's Art of War, it's like everything is against that book. Like generals should be making sure that the war is short and the resources are not lost, and every measure you take, you make it such a way that the enemy party, that your own troops don't get hurt. The best wars are usually fought and won before the war. So it's like, why should we be fighting in some distant land for, like you said, rocks and blowing up rocks and then building it all over again? It's like thousands of years old business model, and it doesn't really work anymore. People can see it through, and they don't. But in this crypto industry, I don't think people are really that interested in blowing up rocks anymore. It's like so Stone Age kind of thinking.
Yeah, when we lose patience on on having politics with words, we turn to politics with weapons. So
There's a question from audience. The D3 Barbarian wants to talk about France, and I agree that's a good topic. It's timely. And just to answer Barbarian, your earlier question, I mean your remark that there's still 3 more Mondays left in this year. The reason why this is the last one, and I don't know, it might not be the last one of this year, is that I'm moving to China, and it's quite difficult to get online from there, so I can't guarantee live shows. However, I will do my best to edit. I have a vast library of unedited videos, which I've been looking for a good time to do. So maybe this will be the time, and maybe I'll be releasing them premiere style on the Monday Night Konsensus slot, at least until I can get back online on the live show. So don't worry, there'll still be content, and I assume there will be more content even than before. So not to worry at all about that. So guys, what do you think about the events in France? This whole Yellow West thing, you know, I think it's pretty appalling. Like that's pretty close, especially for you, Max, and it's close to all of us living in Europe. Like I don't feel like super safe here anymore. I mean, sure, granted, we still live in Finland, which is considered to be one of the safest places in the world. But how long is that going to be? What do you guys think?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, this, you know, having a standing army is never good, like never ever. And you know, there in the history, if you look back for the War of Independence in the United States, which was one of the most recent wars, and well, you know, seeing how America is now, it has tremendously failed. But the rebellion came much sooner. Then you know, they tolerated much less. There was a 5% income tax or something that shook it over the edge, and now we have what, 95% counting up all the taxes. They were especially you know, fearful and fightful against standing armies. And only a couple soldiers on American ground, British soldiers or slave soldiers, pretty much, was enough for them to be pushed over the edge. And here we see policemen, or not even men, like police cowards, with their tanks and machine guns. It is a standing army, and I mean there are different how you can handle this. Yes, you can be aggressive in your outreach, and or not necessarily aggressive, but forceful in your outreach, and demonstrate and be active and try to manifest the change this way. And that is what we see here in Paris currently, right? But on the other hand, you could build better technology, build a better alternative, and live the agorist way, right? Don't engage in violent behavior, but rather make sure that you cut out the state simply by building better tools. And well, that's 100% why I am in Bitcoin. It is a tool that we can use, which is just so much more efficient and so much more peaceful than any other alternative. And when we actively focus on this effort and actively make sure that you know, that ultimately we manifest this technology and manifest the change that we want to seek, this is, in my opinion, much more powerful.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's the ultimate opt-out button. What do you think, Aleksi?
Yeah, it's very interesting because we are only hearing about the events in Paris, but it's much more larger than that. Given that it's in the entire France, and France is from the English Channel all the way to the Mediterranean. It's not a small protest in any way, unlike we're led to believe by the media right now. There have been several instances in which they haven't been telling at all how many people have been involved so far, and that's quite disconcerting that we are being lied to in such a spectacular way right now. I'm just a little bit worried on what's going to come next. This is something quite dangerous as a precedent, because we had a similar situation 100 years ago in Europe. So, well, it's been a month since the end of First World War and 100 years from that. So I don't hope anything like that will ever happen again. We were already a little bit too close on the Second World War, but it doesn't look too good. And I really hope that things de-escalate instead of escalate.
Yes, I think that the yellow vest thing is quite much about the cutting the middleman out. French are, but I know French people, when they riot, they mean it. And if there's a big riot, they really mean it. They're not gonna stop. The French, they have proud, they are very proud people of their origins. They really know it. It's like 8 hours work week. If you try to cut that, there's blocks in the fire. People are really rioting because they really know how to keep their rights, to protect their rights. It has been their history all along, since the days of Napoleon and before that. And it's like, it's a pretty much of a cultural thing that, like, people are talking about, can this spread into other countries? Well, I see it in a bigger way that in North Africa, they started these kinds of riots and rebelling. And people were really, they wanted their rights. They really wanted a new order and new governments and new social order and basically freedom, more freedom. And it's coming to Europe. It just took a few years because there was a good, there was a very good period in economics. And we had a great rise in the stock market. So I think that kind of postponed the effects of the North African revolution.
All right, looks like we got we got 6 live viewers still. So we're losing a little bit of viewership here. But that's okay. I wanted to go back to talking about some maybe positive things, because to be honest, this conflict is bumming me out a little bit. So, and maybe it's bumming out the people as well. Like, you know, this is the thing, like with the mainstream media, what you get is, you know, basically cat pictures, and then, you know, some bad things happening, usually somewhere where you don't live. And these are like control things as well. So I think we should show a good example and try to focus on the positives. So let's try to steer the conversation back to like what happened in crypto this year. You know, I feel like the past year in crypto has been phenomenal. Like for me personally in my life, I'm not that much into the tech, so I don't know exactly all the advances, what it means, what the implications are. But certainly I've found a new kind of, like, I used to be very, you know, depressed and sad about the state of affair in the world, and mostly because I had no way to actually affected. I didn't have any way. I didn't feel like I was making any contribution. Now I feel like actually I'm contributing. I'm teaching people about this technology that you can claim your self-sovereignty with. And I've claimed my self-sovereignty, at least to some extent. You know, I'm not quite as much slave as I used to be. So for me, that's a huge thing. That's basically remade me as a person. And I've been talking to other people in the scene also in the meetups and stuff, and I hear the same story over and over and over again. So what I would like to hear now from you guys, you know, what was the best thing about 2018 in crypto for you guys? Max, why didn't you go first?
Oh, there was so much happening in Bitcoin in 2018, and I agree, it was a fabulous ride and really quite, quite breathtaking. And I do believe that, you know, personally, I've experienced pretty much throughout the entire year the growth of the Lightning Network. And I remember over a year ago hacking together on the command line, you know, my first transaction on mainnet, and it failed several times. There was no liquidity whatsoever, and the software was pretty much non-existent and only a couple people using it. And then fast forward 1 year, and we have several hundred Bitcoin on the Lightning Network. Payments go through pretty much instantly all the time. There's no more routing fails. And, you know, we have mobile wallets, we have browser extensions, we have games that are based on Lightning. You know, it's insane. Our liberating sound money just got instant free payments, and truly instant and truly free payments. It's breathtaking, and just seeing with what ease developers can build on top of this platform is beautiful. Nico, I'm fully there with you that unfortunately I cannot code, but from what you hear from all these developers is that it is rather easy, rather simple. And so having that is amazing. But you know, Lightning Network is just one of the few technologies that is truly breathtaking. Of course, very powerful to have such a scalable network. But then I'm especially really proud and for the Wasabi wallet, which implements Charmian coin joins, a beautiful way of making sure that Bitcoin stays fungible, and that you can reclaim not just your liberty on the financial monetary side, but also on the privacy side. Because if you cannot selectively reveal to anyone that you choose your financial data, well, then you are not free. If everyone knows how much money you have and where you keep that money and what you do with that, that is not a free society. Like, that's an Orwellian dictatorship, and absolutely not something we're striving for. And so seeing these fungibility frameworks like Wasabi Wallet and like the Samurai Wallet is awesome. And, you know, let alone the Lightning Network is much more private as well. So I think these two things combined, although there's a bunch of other stuff happening in Bitcoin last year, but scalability with Lightning and privacy with coin joins, that's a 1-2 punch.
Right, and I want to give a shout out especially to Wasabi Wallet devs, because that's something that I've recently got into and fiddled around with. It seems like a really cool piece of tech, and you know, in such a short time, the advances that, like, just a couple. Max, how many people are coding actually for Wasabi Wallet?
That's a good question. So it was started by Adam Fiskor at Nopara 73 4 years ago. It was first, what was it? First Dark Wallet, then Tumblebit, now Wasabi Wallet. So this has gone through several iterations, and there are many active developers supporting this. And there is Lucas. Oh, what's his last name? Let me look that up. Lucas something, who is doing some fantastic work. There is also Dan Valmensky and David, who are supporting the project. So several different individuals, but it's a rather small team. But you know, a small group of dedicated individuals can actually get a lot of stuff done. And Wasabi is proof of that. It's one of the most beautiful wallets in Bitcoin.
Yeah, go check out Wasabi for sure. Henry, what was the absolute best things about 2008 crypto for you?
Well, for me, this was a very good learning experience about, like, I'm more in the analyzing the markets and the regulations side, and it's very fascinating to see how these markets movements happen. They happen so quickly, and it feels like it's like a free market there compared to the high frequency trading, which is quite boring if you want to do some trading, even some trading. And it's like watching a wild animals running free there in the crypto world, which is people may find it dangerous, but it's like you can feel the freedom. And on the regulation side, I feel like there's lots of opportunities there because it's a new system. New system has been built there, and we're all part of it. We can all be part of that, building that regulation there. And is it going to be a lot of regulation, smaller amounts of that regulation? We can be choosing that at the moment, and especially the public side, they actually want our help, but they just don't know how to ask our help because, well, you know the government, but they are watching us. They want our opinions. They need our opinions, and they really need our help. And I think that's a very, very good thing, especially when I watched that video, that discussion which you have there, Niko, and Aleksi. It really gave me, and I think it gave a lot of people hope that governments and these regulating officials, they really want to hear us, they need us, and they want our help.
That's actually a really good point that you make there. And I totally underline that, a year ago, the times I've been inside Bank of Finland was 0. And this year I've been there 3 times via invitation. So definitely that is a correct assessment. And also, other official parties like the financial authorities, they are really calling us up and asking our opinion. So that's something. That's a start. And it's not quite as bad as maybe that you might get from the mainstream media, like all these sock puppet clowns basically giving nonsensical statements about Bitcoin and trolling on Twitter. That's like it's far cry from that. So actually, I feel like it's a good ground to build here, and I do feel hopeful for the future. But I think we do need a generation change here as well. So Aleksi, what do you think of all of this, and what was the best thing for you about Crypto 2018?
Yeah, well, there has been so much joining up and gathering of people in Finland, at least, that I haven't seen anything like this in any other technology field so far, at least. So that has been really interesting to join Konsensus, and we had the blockchain forum meetups all year, and of course Ethereum meetup. We have been growing steadily ever since last year. I really like to underline the amount of people that have been joining up into the crypto space and asking questions, and learning about new technologies in Ethereum side, and getting back into Bitcoin a lot more right now. And it's been really fascinating year. I'm really looking forward to 2019, given how good this has been so far. So that's me.
Oh yes, absolutely. I can't see how next year wouldn't be even way better, because we have such a strong foundation to build on, and we have more and more builders. And this is the thing that you don't see in mainstream media, that focuses only on the fiat price of these crypto assets, and focuses like on the panel Aleksi mentioned, that it's more like gaming. And it's true, it is more like gaming for most people right now. But what we try to do is educate people that it's actually way more than gaming. Sure, there's price discovery. Sure, it's 95% speculation. That doesn't mean that it's highly undervalued. I think it's highly undervalued, and I'm talking about Bitcoin specifically here. I mean, look at the price a year ago. It was probably double compared to now. And I would say that the technology is double the better, at least. than it was a year ago. So for me, it's way undervalued, and I really can't underline this more, that actually the market price does not tell you the truth about the protocol. It just tells you what is the market price in fiat. And you got to understand, most people on the market do not understand this technology. They are here to play games, and we can change that. I really do. We can change. Do think we can change that?
Oh yes, absolutely, absolutely. And you know, I completely ignored price exactly, and I have a countdown on my phone, 496 days ago, because that was the day of the user-activated soft fork in Bitcoin, which proved that this was that this was a protocol controlled and owned by sovereign individuals who, if they band together and work within consensus, that they can make anything happen, even though that so many obstacles were thrown in the way. And then a couple of weeks later, with the forced and coerced hard fork of SegWit 2x, that this one failed was even more a foundational, it's just bedrock for me to make sure that Bitcoin truly is something revolutionary. It's not just about digital currency. Like, that's rather boring, actually. It's about self-sovereignty and giving tools to defend that. And then, you know, living with over 1 year now, after having my, after having lost or sold my last fiat bags that I was still holding, and switching fully on a sound money mindset, and living with over a year for that without caring about the price whatsoever, has been truly, truly liberating. And just the mind switch that is happening when you get rid of coercive fiat money that is inflated and increases your time preference, so that you end up consuming to a sound money mindset. That is breathtaking. And having that truly experienced and reaching full understanding and wisdom in that fact, just shows you what is possible with this technology. And if such a switch was possible in my mind, what happens if 7 billion people have such a switch in their mindset? And that is when you truly understand the immense potential that Bitcoin has of liberating not just the financial situation of individuals, but truly liberating the mind of all individuals who seek this truth and who want to use liberating free currencies. It's beautiful.
Right. And since you mentioned forks, I can't imagine what's going through the heads of like Bcash advocates back in the day, like about a year ago, when there was actually talk about, can you imagine, there was talk about Bcash flippening as if Bcash is gonna flip Bitcoin. What a joke. Like, now actually there's been talk about Bcash flippening, but now it's Bcash Satoshi's vision versus Bcash ABC. Like, you can't make this shit up. This is soap opera. This is amazing. So if people don't get educated for that kind of experience, like people who were in the Bcash train, I don't know, like, maybe you need to take a hard look in the mirror. I mean, I bet that made a lot of no-coiners for sure for a while. But, sometimes you got to make those mistakes to learn. Like, I've lost a lot of money on shitcoins. I'm not even ashamed to admit that. I think people should talk openly about losses. It's not like sunshine and Lambos most of the time, It's water and peanuts mostly.
Yes, exactly. It's like I kind of like Bcash, those personalities, because they bring a lot of entertainment, and they really, I'm not sure are they serious, but they have courage. They're quite brave what they're doing, because I'm not sure, do they have the capacity or the resources to really reach their goals? At least they're trying. So I kind of like that kind of attitude. I'm not sure what it's going to do with their projects and operations. When I'm thinking about the Max said about the currency and the price, and probably we have all kind of look at the USD price and Euro price of Bitcoin. And usually it's like the whales and the bigger guys in the market. Usually they don't look at dollar prices or euro prices or whatever these currency prices. They look at oil prices, gold prices, silver prices, and I think they are looking at Bitcoin prices, because that paper money is not for them. They didn't use it as a, like a, it doesn't mean wealth to them. If they have real things that they can own, that means wealth for them, not the paper, really.
Yeah, it's like Adam Meister says, measure your wealth in Bitcoin. I really like that. And if you start measuring your wealth in Bitcoin, which is a store of value, if you look at the Bitcoin price development, which I believe averages around 400% on the plus side yearly. So that's kind of good, I would say. I would say that in a long time horizon, which you should have a low time preference, which means that you appreciate that, I mean, you can wait for good things to come to you, then they should be a great store of value for you. However, if you're looking to flip it, then it's probably going to end very badly for you. So there's this kind of like a mindset. And I really like what you said, Henry, about this spirit of Bcashers. I do agree. There's a lot of Bcashers who are kind of this libertarian idealists, and to their kind of like dismay, they are so used to betting for the underdog, right? So Bcash was the underdog to Bitcoin. Bitcoin was the big evil that needed to be slain. So enter Bcash, and this is the new Bitcoin that is going to slay this oppressor that is run by Blockstream neckbeards or whatever the flavor of the day might be. So I sympathize with that. The spirit is there. So I do think that most of these people are, kind of like, I think they can do a lot of good things as well, if they want to, put that energy in something more useful, maybe.
Yeah, it's like, but I'm not really sure if like releasing a war against the biggest rival there, I'm not really sure is that a good idea, because if you go on a war, you have to have resources. You have to go full all in all the time. It may take years. And what is it really going to get better in, well, like both of Bcash and Bitcoin and any other cryptocurrency? Is it going to make this industry better if they are fighting each other?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I don't believe that for Bitcoin the aspect of being changeable is a good thing. Like being able to change the rules, although it's amazing that you as an individual can run by whichever rules you want, is beautiful. On a consensus level, we don't want to change these rules. Right, these need to be upheld, and consensus rules have been upheld in Nakamoto consensus since January 3rd, 2009. And that's the beautiful thing of Bitcoin, that consensus doesn't change. Individual nodes might change, oh, absolutely. And if you are working within consensus, you can be quite free and change the rules as you wish, as long as it does not break consensus. And then seeing what happens when you once establish that consensus is being broken with a hard fork, that's inherently, like per definition, centralization. And this also means that once you set the precedent, that you will continuously have the opportunity to fork. And we see this with ABC and SV and all this other nonsense. It's cool. But on the other hand, we also see that this is a beautiful mechanism of cleaning Bitcoin from bad and malicious actors, like Bitmain, who have, although they've provided a tremendous service in their research and development of ASIC chips, which is specialization of security, which is great, they are not the best actor in this field. And according to a tweet, which I have not verified, but the source was rather credible, I just can't find the correct tweet now, they have third quarter losses of $750 million US. I mean, that's $250 million US in losses in one quarter. because, well, they are holding 1 million Bcash and probably wasted a shit ton of money on mining, on the mining attacks on Bitcoin SV and supporting ABC and all that nonsense. And it just shows again that the immune system of Bitcoin is extremely functional and very intact. When you are a bad actor and when you play stupid games, yeah, you win stupid prizes. And only those truly strong hands that have conviction and that work within consensus and that manifest true change and really want to support this network and make sound money happen, well, those are the peers that get rewarded in the long term. And it's interesting to see how these hyper-inflated Bitmain super conglomerates are all crashing and burning. It's quite beautiful.
Oh yeah, I'm heavily shorting Bcash because why not? I mean, it's literally the only thing left to do. That ship is sinking, and I think it illustrates greatly the point of what makes actually a good money and what makes a good store of value, the collectible aspect. And what does make a good collectible? Like I'm a Magic the Gathering player, so I know a thing or two about collectibles and what, you know, what people want and the scarcity. If there's something that people want to use, for example, playing a game of Magic, like a very rare card, it has value. You know, if you will always get money out of that. So people need to want what you have. And with Bcash, nobody wants it, sadly. So it doesn't matter if you have 1 million Bcash because it's not liquid. You can't really get the value out of there. So it's a sucky store of value. So this is important to understand, that to able to have a good money, a good store of value, it first needs to be something that people desire.
Yeah, that's actually true, because back in when the euros came, the most sought after euro coins were from the Vatican, because they were the most rarest ones, and they are probably still much more valuable than their displayed price, which is kind of funny. It's a euro coin, but it's more than a euro because it's rare. So I don't know what was the point in making that one.
Yeah, that's a good point what Aleksi said there. It's just people, we are people, and we like rare things, and rare things have value. First thing first, something the most beautiful, it has to be something that it cannot be like a replicate of something and claim, okay, this is equal value with the other. Well, you may buy something for it, but people like rare things. That's true.
Right. It doesn't matter if it's for, you know, ultimate bragging rights, or if it's a rare baseball card, or it's a Magic card, or it's the hardest, soundest money that has ever been introduced to mankind. You know, I mean, take your pick. I mean, I know what I'm buying. You know, I'm mostly buying. Well, I'm diversifying on some reserve list Magic cards, but that's another story for another video. So if you like to play Magic, then I'll make a video of that, because I really like to talk about that stuff. But I realize that's like super fringe. Like if Bitcoin is fringe, then you know, Magic card is kind of another thing. So I'm not going to bore you more with that. So
really, not in my opinion, at least. Although these kind of things overlap quite heavily, so.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, it's still early days. It's still mostly you know, nerds who have spent the past 20 years plugged into internet, mostly, to exaggerate a little bit. But in my experience, the regular people, the happy hoi polloi, so to say, they're not really into it. They don't understand it. They don't want to understand it. It's too complicated. And I can't really blame them for that. So what we need to do as builders is to find approachable ways for people to adopt. And yeah, I think that's in 2018. I think we've seen that. Like Max mentioned, Lightning. I haven't really used Lightning myself yet, but it seems like it's certainly becoming more accessible. Wasabi's and other wallet interfaces are becoming way better. Bisq is making steady strides to become a little bit more usable. user-friendly, and Bisq is a decentralized exchange to buy Bitcoin, so you should definitely check that out as well. For me, that's been one of the greatest products that I've been using quite a lot. What else? Yeah, there's a couple of others that I want to mention, but maybe you guys can mention other, maybe some services that you want to prop up to, because we do need to hold together with the builders and prop each other up and shield each other, because it is fringe. And let's say we have 15 people here, so we've been managing to more than double our viewership in this short amount of time. So that's something, but it's still 15 people. I mean, it is super early days. I mean, if you look at any gamer video that is streaming, like, you know, subpar Overwatch play, it has like hundreds of or even thousands of views, and that kind of bums me out a little bit, you know. But it is what it is. You know, you gotta understand that people want what people want, and you gotta give them what they want as well. And I do think we are approaching an era that actually Bitcoin is going to be integrated in games as well, maybe in-game money, and you know, that's the way. People won't need to know that they're using Bitcoin protocol, just like they don't need to know they're using TCP/IP protocol while they're surfing, you know, Facebook or sending emails. I think it's going to be simple like that, but it might take years. But this is an infrastructure grab. People like understand that this is like the next best thing, or maybe even better thing than a land grab. Like you can actually grab the monetary infrastructure of future right now, and I think around 10 euros or you know, $15 buys you a fair share of the amount of wealth measured in Bitcoin right now with the current Bitcoin price. So if you would divide all the available Bitcoins for all the people, it would cost you about $15 to get that share, and then you would be on the same starting line with everybody else. So, you know, there's something to think about.
Oh yes, absolutely. And just to focus that this is early days, right? And then I will keep that up with one change to the more protocol level. That, although might seem rather trivial, is actually tremendously important. And that is BIP 174, which is partially signed Bitcoin transactions, which was introduced, I think, in version 16.2. I'm not entirely certain. It might have been only version 0.17. But what this basically does, it allows you to create a Bitcoin transaction on a hot device, right? On a device that is connected with the internet, like your everyday laptop, and then transport it with, for example, a SD card or with a QR code or with any other shape or form to a hardware wallet device that is offline and has your keys in a secure enclave that is not connected to the internet. And this is actually tremendously important. I mean, for example, here the Cold Card wallet is working only with these partially signed Bitcoin transactions. The Wasabi wallet is only working with these partially signed Bitcoin transactions. And Bitcoin Core will soon remove, or at least extract, the wallet function completely to the node function, which is also huge and really, really important, and it really should be done. So having still such important infrastructure changes happening and regularly, I mean, the amount of huge infrastructure work is breathtaking. And yes, that like partially signed Bitcoin transactions are huge, but then we have something like Schnorr signatures, which gets better, and better every single day. And you see on the mailing list the devs talking about it and improving the protocol. And making this stuff happen. I mean, it's beautiful, it's breathtaking, and we are, like, right now, 2018, we are building stuff, and we are getting ready for the next wave of adoption, which absolutely will come. And by then, we will have enough liquidity on Lightning. We'll have enough coin joins. We'll have enough hardware wallets. We'll have enough interfaces, infrastructure, and just continue to improve the protocol. That's just, it's amazing.
So it looks like Crypto Sasquatch wants me to make a magic video, so I guess I have to make one since I promised. Oh, what a shame. But yeah, it's like, you know, diversifying in other assets. That's actually something that you, Max, have been talking about lately in terms of like diversifying in different sets of UTXOs, which means this. The most simple way to think about it would be probably to diversify. Let's say you have a treasure, you have a couple open dimes, maybe you have a mobile wallet, you have a Wasabi, you have many different places that you can diversify your holdings of Bitcoin. That seems like a logical thing to do. Why don't we talk about that a little bit? Aleksi, do you diversify? You recently got in, didn't you?
Yeah, I haven't diversified yet in any way.
So when we talk about diversifying, like I hear some people talking about diversifying in shitcoins, which seems kind of counterproductive because I mean the shitcoins do follow the price of Bitcoin. So when Bitcoin goes up, shitcoins tend to go down because people are consolidating to catch the moon rocket, and when Bitcoin goes down, also shitcoins go down because people are jumping off the shitcoin train and then selling their Bitcoins as well. So only way that the shitcoins actually go up is when Bitcoin goes sideways for a prolonged time, and that's when the so-called alt summer might make an appearance. But I'm not so sure if we're going to see that anymore. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think that the markets is quite interesting to watch. Usually the leader, Bitcoin, is leading the market and making the first move, and others are following it. In a way, and like Niko said about the sideways movement, well, then is the other, like the alternatives to shine when the star is not there at the brightest place where to shine. And it's like every markets usually have these kind of phases, especially at this moment. Many times in the markets, it's like there are lots of competition, lots of rivals, lots of different projects. But when it is going down a lot and we are at the bottom levels, then it's like the cleansing or the purge of the market, and it's like survival of the fittest, basically. And it may create lots of opportunities. And now it's like a good chance to really build the infrastructure we've been talking about, like the good sound infrastructure there. That is the only thing that can really make the next move a lot higher. The real concrete infrastructure there at the basic level.
So I think we're gonna trend towards the end here. I wanted to make one last round, and it looks like we've actually break 20 watchers right now, just when we're getting ready to wrap up. But let's make this a long round of, and I do hope we get some more questions from the audience. I really loved the audience participation so far in this episode. Really cool to see all these familiar faces. D3 Barbarian is of course there. We got Crypto Rave, Raphael there. He's sick, so he had to sit this one out. Crypto Sasquatch, of course. We got Herra Kani, the Mr. Rabbit from Telegram, also one of our content creators. Yeah, this feels like hanging out with the gang pretty much here. So please, if you have any more questions, anything you want to cover, if you want to tell us your story about what is the best thing that happened this year in crypto, go ahead and we'll talk about it. But in the meanwhile, why don't you guys have your say? If there's something that is left unsaid, some remark you want to make, now is the chance. And also remember to shield all your projects and any products that you firmly believe in. And should we start with Henry this time?
Yeah, thanks. I would encourage people to really think about these movements, like Yellow Vest movements. People are a lot smarter today, these younger generations, than before. people don't like to go to war and stuff like that. So you shouldn't be worried, but you should be just focusing on what you can do in your everyday life. That's what life really is about. And we just happy enjoy those moments and learn new things. And basically, what I'm expecting for the 2019 looks like the infrastructure is getting such good shape that we might have a great year for Bitcoin and probably for cryptocurrencies there. It might bring a lots of opportunities, people, not just investing opportunities, but like following and learning new things and maybe jobs and lots of new stuff, because this may be a year of the cleansing of the purge of the uh, rivals and checking out who's really the strongest and has something concrete for the future.
Hard to respond to that one. That was very well put. Yeah, really looking forward to 2019 and continuing to do awesome work with Konsensus Networks and into the World Crypto Network. Max has been doing an awesome job on making all sorts of tutorials on Wasabi Wallet and BISC and anything that I've been using as well. They have been really, really informative and great. And we are really, really on the cusp of something quite great in this field, because the first growth since last year, December, after the beginning of this year, it was more of a warm up, in my opinion. It was pretty incredible to see everything rocket that fast, but I think we haven't seen nothing yet. Although I'm not any sort of analyst, I really think this is going to be something else. Looking forward to it.
Oh yes, absolutely. I don't know if I'm looking forward to 2019, because 2018 was so relieving to get rid of all the fudsters, all the hypers, because they're attracted to price, right? And when price is crashing, and then they leave, which is cool because they leave us alone to do the real work, to do the building and the educating, and that was actually a really nice year. It was the good people sticking with it, and the weekends folding, and that was really nice. So I'm curious to see how this goes with the next run up, on how the next hype cycle will be, because of course it will come. But I do believe that we are prepared for it already. On the infrastructure level, Bitcoin has never been stronger. On the application layer, Bitcoin has never been stronger. On the scaling layer, Bitcoin has never been stronger. On the anonymity layer, it's the same. And I will believe on the education side as well. I mean, there are 1,001 amazing podcasts and articles and lectures out there, which is it's amazing. I mean, it would be tough to know them all. And there is more than enough good information out there for all the peers who want to accumulate this information and try to understand it. And supporting others on this path is phenomenal. I mean, in 2018, I've really done a lot of videos, both, of course, on Konsensus and on the World Crypto Network. And I've learned such an incredible amount. It's mind-boggling. My mind does not stop racing, and it hurts sometimes. These mindfucks really hurt, and it's just nice to share these ideas and concepts with others and working together with them. Having peers such as Aleksi and Niko and Henry is phenomenal, and it's just it's a nice opportunity that we have, and absolutely we are building something, and the opportunity and the possibility of what we are building is nothing short of mind-blowing. So seeing this and making sure that we don't mess it up, but actually manifest true and positive and long-lasting change, so that all these angry protesters in France realize that does not do that much throwing rocks at some peasant policemen, but actually taking away the power of the printing press and ending the nation state in that way is so much more powerful. The agorist way, building a beautiful marketplace and letting it flow grow and prosper is a phenomenal tool of reclaiming liberty and self-sovereignty. And Bitcoin is one of the few tools that we have for that. But oh my, it is a mighty tool. And we should not butcher this opportunity and actually grab it and manifest the change that we seek in this world. So 2018 was phenomenal. And how can 2019 be any better? I don't know. But let's make it so.
Well said, guys. Well said. I couldn't agree anymore with that. So I'm just going to give the audience that there's already a couple of questions. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of more time, like a couple minutes to really hammer in some more questions. I'm going to go through all of those. In the meanwhile, I just wanted to point out something else that happened this year. And since you guys also be mentioning that, you know, the young people, the millennials are far from stupid. They know how to use these technologies, these tools of self-defense already. And this, I think we will see a difference in the future as well. And to that end, I'm also happy to tell you guys that you know, we have military conscription in Finland that has been mandatory. And if you declined, you went to jail. But now this year, apparently the situation is so that you know, the high court decided that they liberated this one person who wanted to decline the conscription. And that what that means effectively is that if you want to decline military service, you can now without going to jail. And that's pretty cool. I mean, I can't believe that we still have young men going to prison for a year for not complying with the violent government that's you know, in 2018, but at least we're getting somewhere. So that's certainly something to celebrate. And about millennials, I also wanted to point out another thing about starfish organizations. I had this presentation that I've had a couple of times, and it's one of my favorite topics to talk about. And I think that's going to really make a difference in the future, how we run companies and how we even run countries, or even, I don't even know if we're going to be talking about countries or just communities in the future. Like, we basically already live in this kind of like a global village society. That is converging on English and Bitcoin pretty much for our tools of choice. I just wanted to quickly show you what I got here. I'm going to release the actual full talk, so I'm just going to go through the slides real quick here. If I can just share the screen. Can you see it?
Yes.
Can you guys see it? Awesome. So, all right. So we got, first of all, read this book. This is called The Starfish and the Spider. I think the actual book is called The Unstoppable Power of, yeah, I forgot the name of the book, but check it out. You can Google it and you can find a PDF for free. It's and the audio book is also good. But anyway, if you look at this quickly, you might see that there's some similarities. Like, they both have legs, and you know, they both perform some kind of a function. So we got this like finely tuned killing machine that is super efficient in the one job that is made to do, which is basically hunting flies and, you know, building webs and stuff, and it's very good at that. And we have a starfish that doesn't do much, but it has some other traits. Like, for example, if we introduce trauma to these two things, so what happens is that the spider is rendered obsolete right away. But when you introduce trauma and stress to starfish, it will actually just multiply. It's kind of like Bitcoin, and this is blows me away every time. This book was written in 2008. Or 2007. It was a year before Bitcoin. And it pretty much tells the story of Bitcoin and why Bitcoin is anti-fragile. So it not only is resilient, it's anti-fragile, which means that it becomes more powerful the more you attack it. So it's like the Hydra. You cut the head out and 3 more sprout out. So you can't really kill it. So then what are the differences? And this is, I feel like this is what resonates with the millennials. So I would urge you to consider. And I want to emphasize, I have nothing against spider organizations. They are very efficient for a certain tool. You know, you have boss, you got control, you can do exactly what you want, very precise, very efficient. It can be useful. Like, let's call those like those you know, permission blockchains, for example. There's probably use for that, just like internet. But then we have this different kind of way to organize, open source entrepreneurship, that at least I and Max also advocate very heavily. So what I've, for example, categorize myself is a catalyst. I arrived there, I'm a peer. If there's any kind of a leadership, and there is leadership, it's leadership by example and by doing things, and then people by choice will follow. And in this book, there's talk about the Amazon Indians and conquistadors, and how they couldn't beat them because what they were used to is to cut off the head of the boss, and then the people will follow. An easy way to conquer nations, but it doesn't work when there's always a new leader sprouting from the community. And this is the power, resilience, and anti-fragility of Starfish organization. So Spider organization accomplished some things faster. Collect funds, whatever is your task. You can build this kind of organization. You can get there faster. But if you want to accomplish anything, you can accomplish anything, and I do mean anything, slowly. If you have time, if you have low time preference, if you're not in a rush, go lean, flat, and nimble. Employ yourself. Build syndicates with like-minded people, and then you can actually accomplish anything. Nobody can do everything alone, but then I wonder if I'll just lost you guys.
No, please keep going.
Oh, we're still here. All right. Well, that was pretty much it. I don't want to bore you with that. I'm gonna link that presentation. It's open source, of course, free to use, and I do feel I wish you use that however you see it best, and I wish you read the book. It's really illuminating, and I think it's a new way to think about organizing structures. And I think these two models don't even compete with each other; they complement each other. So I just want to quickly throw that in there.
Oh yeah,
did you guys have any comments on this?
I do. A very, very fantastic presentation, and especially like the slides, which are just so condensed and bring it down to a point, which is exactly how such presentation and how such slides should be. So absolutely phenomenal. And thank you for recommending that book, which I started reading because of you. And it is really profound how such a book comes out just before the creation of Bitcoin, and employs all the theories that make Bitcoin so resilient and so strong. So absolutely, this is a really, really nice book that is well worth reading. And these open source entrepreneurship collectives are quite powerful. And here this group here, like we've never met in person, which is insane, right? But we meet on the interwebs, we meet in cyberspace, and we collaborate not because we have to, but because we want to. And this motivation and of intrinsic voluntary cooperation is so much more powerful than any 9-to-5 job that you could have. So absolutely, these flat and decentralized organizations that realize that hierarchies based on authority and coercive violence are just wrong fundamentally, and that they will always underperform, and they will always be outperformed by decentralized and free and liberating flat starfish organizations. So this is a perfect comparison. And thank you very much, Niko, for sharing it. And of course, making it open source as it should be.
Right. It's my pleasure. Aleksi, Henry, do you have some comments on that?
Yeah, it was a great presentation. And I think really for younger generations, this is what it is. And that is what they really understand. So let's say talk to people in the 20s. They don't really get the CEO aspect as well. Same like a little bit older people. Because like in the past there was CEOs, and there were like army type of CEOs. And well, because of history and all sorts of those things. But I think this is like a process where things are going, projects and companies are going toward these starfish organizations, and it is a really interesting process to see it. Like Niko said, that I don't think these are really fighting each other. You can pick. It's your time to choose. You can make that decision on your own.
So yeah, this is exactly what I've been working well ever since 2004, working on different open source projects, and actually ever since Git launched back in 2006, this was exactly the model that Linus Torvalds had in mind when he started to develop Git and showing people how to use Git to create something like a really distributed and decentralized way of developing software. So I'm glad that this is now taken root in organizational structures, because even though it's not efficient when people don't want to do something, they won't do it. That's perfectly fine. I have always said that if you don't feel like doing it, don't do it. Rather have all of your energy and put everything you got into it, and always be supportive among your peers, and make sure that the work that someone else is doing, you're attributing to it, and making sure that you are using free software and stuff like that. So the Starfish is exactly what open source projects have been, and I hope many more will become like that. Even though GitHub really took a huge hit on that everything is now centralized into GitHub, and all the source code is there. So I don't like that, but let's see what happens in the future.
Well said. And I actually have an announcement that is related to this kind of like Starfish and decentralization. I am the chairman of Konsensus, and I just want to officially let everybody know that I'm stepping down to decentralize Konsensus and to make sure that it doesn't become one-man show. And of course, I have some other personal reasons as well to do that. I will be serving until the end of the term, which is March. But I feel like this year it has given me a lot. Konsensus has given me a lot. I've helped to build this community, and you guys help me build it, and it's been growing, and I expect that it keeps growing, and I think that it's time for me to step away from it, and I'm quite confident that it has the legs, that it doesn't really need me and doesn't need anybody, and that's the whole point of Konsensus. So just to let everybody know that that's going to happen. And if you have anybody in mind who would be good for this kind of position, keep that in mind in March, because there will be an election, and this time there will actually be a big community to probably vote from, and to actually vote in the election. So keep that in mind, definitely. Okay, let's see the questions. Raphael is asking about predictions for crypto markets in 2009. What? I predict that Bitcoin is still going to be the king. I predict that probably the dominance is going to go up. Shitcoins are probably going to lose another 90% leg, and then we'll probably see a bull market. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I expect that there is going to be some rally up. I'm just waiting for the bottoming of the market. But it has been happened before that it is like a Bitcoin style bottoming, very quick, very fast. I don't know how many percentages it is going to be in few hours. It's going to be probably huge, but then when the bottoming has happened, then it's going to go up. And we may have some very good basis for the market to go up next year. And I think it's not just Bitcoin, but it's the market in general. There are US and China fighting each other, there's Brexit, and people are waiting for options. And I'm not sure, because gold and silver and these markets are quite manipulated. So real options for people to invest not just invest in money or some instrument, but in their future. And I think this is going to be a big thing for next year. Are they going to invest in their future, not just some instrument or some crypto asset, but in the future?
Max, what's your prediction?
Oh, I have a very, very, very reckless prediction, and that is that in next year there will be exactly 52,560 blocks being produced, which will mean that the longest chain will have just about 600,000 blocks. And even further, I would say that the money supply will increase in 2016 by roughly exactly 657,000 Bitcoin. And although this might be the most boring prediction, well, because Bitcoin's money supply is the most relentless and unchanging beast that we have ever seen, but realizing this and realizing that you can pretty much exactly count and not just guess, but predict and verify the exact money supply for next year is what is truly important. So stop with all that nonsense price talk. Focus on the money supply, because that's what's important for money, and that's what's important for entrepreneurial calculation. And well, I being an entrepreneur, that's what I am really curious about. But because that's not hard to predict. That's what we verify ourselves as individual sovereign full nodes. But honestly, so a prediction that I would do is that we will continue building and we will continue improving the most beautiful sound money network that the world has ever seen. And we will continue to liberate one individual at a time. And sooner rather than later, we will have liberated the vast majority of humankind in general. And this will lead to unprecedented amounts of prosperity being released, and not just in the short term. That's going to be boring. But the true manifestation of this change will be felt 7 generations' time. So unfortunately, well, we won't be around until then. But I mean, another wild prediction, it might be that because of the immense innovation potential that Bitcoin has already released and will continue to release, we might live rather long. Because there are now many individuals who can do research and development on life-sustaining medicine. So, sustaining our bodily vessels in which our souls travel is something that absolutely we can and we will make happen here with the sound money base, which Bitcoin provides as a foundation for entrepreneurial and innovative activities. So, might be that we will live for a couple more generations and then truly experience the full power of sound money and liberating money, which Bitcoin ultimately is.
Well said, Max. Alex, do you have some prediction for next year?
No, but Max, you know that Metric wasn't supposed to be a documentary.
I also predict that 1 Bitcoin will be 1 Bitcoin also next year. So do start to measure your wealth in Bitcoin. That's not financial advice, that's life advice. And also somebody in the chat, I think Raphael said, well, if you bought Bitcoin at 15 grand, you'll be crazy not to buy at 3.5 grand. And that is true. And I also predict that maybe not next year, but in the years to come, many people will regret not buying 1 Bitcoin per family member when they could have. And I think now is the time that many have that opportunity. Maybe not a full one, but at least it's a great start. So again, not financial advice of any kind, but life advice. Get 1 Bitcoin each, and then that's at least you have something for the future.
Yeah, don't buy a house, buy a Bitcoin.
Yeah, actually, the housing market is kind of overheated everywhere in the world, pretty much. Like, I mentioned China a couple times, and do you guys know that the regular middle-class people start to have 2 and 3 apartments as investment? That sounds like a bubble to me. Like, I've seen the ghost cities that they are building that I don't know what they are preparing for or what's going on. Is it just a huge money laundering scheme, which it probably is also, but it's kind of weird and it's kind of scary. So I would also advise against buying an apartment right now. Now is the time to buy Bitcoin and maybe go shopping once the everything bubble bursts. But you know, just talking my opinions here. I don't know what's going to happen, and nobody knows. Rafael is making a prediction in the chat. He thinks that many shitcoins are going to crash in 2019. STO, so that's security token offerings, and ETFs are going to create a small bubble. Ethereum is going to have a hard time, and Green is going to take over Monero. That's some reasonable predictions. Not sure about Green taking over Monero. Monero has kind of good network effects as well, but could be definitely. All right, I think we've had a good show here. I would like to thank you panelists for attending and giving your time again and divulging this valuable information to everybody. I like to thank all the viewers for checking on these shows and making the channel grow. This is the 34th episode, and it might be the last of this year. I don't know yet. Hopefully, I can keep making this. Definitely, I'll be releasing some older stuff that hopefully you will enjoy. And yeah, keep watching those things. Keep sending us questions. Keep the conversation up in the Telegram groups, which I'm super happy with the activity of the conversation there all the time. And yeah, I think there's no more questions. So I think we're going to do an exit round. And do remember to shield your social media. And of course, you will find links in the description later after the show. But let's just do the exit round now. Aleksi, do you want to go first?
Yeah, you can find me on Telegram, IRC, Twitter, YouTube as well. Although I don't make that many videos. I do have my own software company, but I'm currently not looking too many new clients. But you can reach me from my Telegram or via Twitter. So yeah. Looking forward to many more shows in Konsensus.
Me too, and then yeah, thanks for all your great work so far, and I'm sure next year will be awesome as well for Konsensus Network. Henry, how about you?
Yeah, thanks for the show. It was great talk, and you can find me on YouTube, on Twitter, on Google Plus, and on Facebook, and well, basically these other medias I'm operating, and my company website on opilaki.fi in Finnish. You want to reach that way.
Thank you, Henry. And Max, take it away.
Well, again, and Niko, thank you very much for having me here on the Konsensus Ry Network, which is phenomenal. It was an amazing year 2018, and was really cool watching this channel grow and the content and information that was accumulated here. So thanks for all that you did here. Piers, you can find me on Twitter at Hillebrand Max, Telegram as well, and I do a bunch of stuff on the World Crypto Network. Currently, I'm really looking forward to reading the OpTech newsletter, which is fantastic and the most in-depth source of information in Bitcoin in a weekly format. And just some projects that I'm especially excited about is, of course, the Cold Card wallet, the Wasabi wallet, the Bisq exchange, and then especially the Nodal, which is a very powerful self-hosted or hardware that you run your own Bitcoin full node. And Niko mentioned the amazing book, The Starfish and the Spider. And that's something that I'm going to now publicly first announce, is that we are going to put a bunch of information on top of the Nodal, and we already have 1 gigabyte filled with books and all of Satoshi's writings and a lot of the books from the cypherpunks and email lists, and of course a bunch of Austrian economics style. And well, this is going to be the full freedom package, which just not just gives you the financial freedom, but also the freedom of mind, of reading. So absolutely, Piers, as always, a pleasure, and see you on the next show.
Thank you, Max, for all your work. How many videos have you made this year? You've made a lot. I know that much.
Well, yeah, I can't count that high. The blockchain is good at counting.
Is it in hundreds already?
Oh yeah, probably. But I mean, like recently, like there are like 50 Bitcoin to the max videos, which are all like 5 minutes short. Like 10 on Bisq, more on Wasabi, and well, I mean, alone at Prague, we did like 66 videos. So yeah.
Holy shit.
Several hundred.
I'll definitely go check out World Crypto Network. Max has truly given the channel a new life there, and of course, Thomas's old content is there as well. But nowadays, it's mostly Max. So definitely go and show your support there. I know I watch every show Max makes and like it. And yeah, you should do it as well. And just like Aleksi said, and also Raphael said the same thing, super informative to learn about these things, these new. If you want to be cutting edge, you definitely want to subscribe to World Crypto Network and check out Max's stuff as well. And you can find me on Twitter, Omnifin. You can find me on Konsensus Network, of course. I'll try to do shows more on World Crypto Network as well. And we actually agreed with Max that we're gonna be doing more cross-posting. So expect to see some shows from World Crypto Network also appear on Konsensus Network and vice versa. So this is a way to gain more exposure and get the good word out, so we can all help each other here. So definitely exciting to see what's the next year is going to bring. Looking forward to going to China, back to my family. We'll be sending you guys some pictures, some family time, and then get back to work and make some videos. And oh yeah, and I forgot to mention that I actually contacted Saifa Dianamus, who is the author of Bitcoin Standard, phenomenal book, by the way. Read that right away if you haven't. To translate that in Finnish. So this is something that has been requested by the community. And while it's not exactly going to be a moneymaker, it will sure be a nice way to service the community and get the good word out for maybe people who are not so into this as we are, but should be. And there's actually no need, no reason for people not to be interested in money and hard money at that, because you know, sucky money, who cares about? So again, have a good one and have a nice Christmas, everybody. And I'll guess I don't know when I'm going to do a next live show, but definitely you can find me also on Telegram if you want to get in touch. So bye bye.